Are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to be able to repeat as Super Bowl champions from 2 years ago? Is Tom Brady still have what it takes to play some football at age 45 at that point? Is the team going to do without Bruce Arians as the head coach now with Todd Bowles? And how do you think Rob Gronkowski is going to come back and play for another year with Tampa Bay? This is your boy James here. We're going to take the time to go ahead and analyze the Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule. We will predict on as far as how many games I think they'll win, where some of their best matchups go, where they're going to win, maybe where they're going to lose, and some great matchups here. Let's take a look and see what we've got. All right, so here we go. We've got the schedule. We got week one. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to the Dallas Cowboys to play them on Sunday Night Football. I talked about this in the Cowboys prediction video. I don't think the Cowboys are that going to be that spectacular this year. I think they're definitely going to do have some struggles early on in the season. And while it is tough to play in Dallas, Tom Brady owns the Cowboys. Even when he was with the Patriots, he has never lost to the Cowboys before. I think that continues. I think he's going to win in week one in Dallas on Sunday Night Football there. Then things get interesting. Then you go to week two, and the Buccaneers go to the Saints to play the New Orleans Saints. Now, this is kind of interesting because Tom Brady is 0-4 in the regular season against the Saints. For whatever reason, the Saints have always found ways to really contain his best play, and they always try to keep him off the scoreboard. And especially when the Saints come to play in Tampa Bay is where the Saints defense goes to show up. And as far as when Brady has played in Tampa, the Saints have only given up 3 points when they are on the road to Tampa Bay. But this is a different case this year. I think the Buccaneers are about the same as they were last year and the year before that, with some improvements of what they needed. I'm not sure exactly how that defense is really for the Bucs. I think their run defense is still very, very good. I think it's going to be very hard to run on this Tampa 7. So, and I do think Tom Brady, I don't think he ever goes, winless against a team in his own division. I do believe that he is going to pick up a win this year against the Saints, but I think it's going to be on the road. And then later on in the season, I think the Saints will go into Tampa and beat Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. That's how I envision it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the Bucs in week 3. Then week 2. Then you go into week 3. You've got the Green Bay Packers. They're making their big return to Tampa Bay to get the revenge on the NFC Championship game from 2 seasons ago. Aaron Rodgers typically does not usually play all that great in Tampa. It's usually one of the toughest places for him to play, either there or Miami, as it's been shown before. But I think this Bucs team is just too good for the Green Bay defense. As much as it has improved, I think it's too much for the Packers to be able to slow down that offensive scheme that the Buccaneers do have. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay to win that game in week 3. If it was in Lambeau Field, it might be a different story because that's where Aaron Rodgers plays his best football. But since it's in Tampa, I think you got to go with Tom Brady in that game. Week 4, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have a rematch with the Tampa Bay Bucks in Tampa. I do believe that the Bucks are the better team than Chiefs. I think they continue their winning ways and go 4-0 the first 4 weeks of the season. I like the way the Bucks usually do. I like the way that they play the Chiefs. I think both offenses are going to really explode in this game. But I think with Tom Brady and his guys, with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I think they have way too much juice for the Kansas City defense to be able to hold up with. So I'm going to give that edge to the Tampa Bay Bucks and win that game in Tampa. Week 5, the Atlanta Falcons travel to Tampa. I think Tampa should win that game with no problems. The Falcons are not a very good team this year, so I think they should be able to split with the not split. I'm sorry. They should sweep both the Falcons and the Panthers this year. Week 6, the Tampa Bay Bucks travel to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. I can kind of see this game going either way, but I think the Bucks are still a much better team than the Steelers are. Just by the way, with Tom Brady and his success with playing against the Steelers over in his career. So I think the Bucks should win that game pretty comfortably. I don't. I think this offensive line for Tampa has improved. They're better than they were a year ago, which is going to. I think it's going to give T.J. Watt and some of them problems in being able to get to Tom Brady. So I think this should be a good game for Tom Brady to beat the Steelers in Heinz Field. Week 7, the Bucks play the Panthers. I have them beating the Panthers. The Panthers, once again, are not a very good team. Whether if they're playing, if they're going to play Sam Darnold or if they're playing Jake Corral at this point of the season, I don't know. But I don't really think either one of those two are really going to be able to save the Panthers season. So I think it's a lost cause for them. I think the Bucks should win that game. Week 8, I can see this being an either way type of game. I think either team could win this game. I think the Ravens, I think as long as Lamar can play his A game, and if that secondary of the Bucks is not able to cover and able to get to Lamar to get some pressure on him, and then I think the Bucks can win this game. But I think the biggest problems with this is that the defense of the Buccaneers side is they're going to be able to slow down Lamar Jackson and his running abilities to get outside of the pocket, being able to run or find an open receiver. I think it's a tough game to really decide because I think while the Ravens aren't really the best team in the world, I don't think this year. And while I do think the Bucks offense is much better, I think it's going to really depend on Lamar's game. And I think it's going to really depend on how much the Ravens defense lets up. If they let up too many points and too many yardages against this Tampa Bay offense, then I would see Tom Brady win. So I think just because it's a Thursday night football game, usually the home team does win on Thursday nights. I'm going to go with the Bucks to win that game. I think they just have a slighter edge here in this game. I think with Tom Brady, who's the better quarterback in this game, just by a little bit. But I think they also have way too much though too with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, all those guys that are going to be too much for the Ravens to be able to slow down. I don't think they're going to be able to slow all those players down too much. So I'm taking the Bucks to win that game on Thursday night. Then we've got the NFC divisional matchup rematch for the Los Angeles Rams taking their way to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Last year, Matthew Stafford and company was able to sweep Tom Brady. I think it's very hard to beat Tom Brady 2 years in a row. 3 straight games. I think the Buccaneers are going to find a way to avenge their loss from last season. And I think they're going to find a way to be able to beat the Rams in this game. I think the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFC and in the league for that matter. But I think Tom Brady, I think it's very hard to beat Tom Brady 3 times in a row. I don't think it's just that possible for that to happen. So I think I'm going to go with the Bucks in that game. I like the setup. I like the matchups between these two. I think it's going to be kind of similar to like the Rams and Chiefs game and Chiefs and Buccaneers game. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. I think both defense are going to not really play all that great, especially Tampa's defense that really struggled last year against Matthew Stafford and company, was not able to slow down that duo with Cooper Kupp. But I think Tom Brady's going to find enough juice in his receivers and his run game with Leonard Fournette. I think it's going to be too much for the Rams to really be able to cover. So I think I'm going to take the Bucks in that game to win in Week 9. Then Week 10, you got the Seattle Seahawks, and they're going to Tampa. Well, they're not really going to be in Tampa. They'll actually be in, I believe it's Germany. This game is going to be played in. I have the Bucks winning this game too. I don't have a lot of faith in Seattle this year. I don't think Seattle's a very good team per se. I think after Russell Wilson left, I think Drew Lock is definitely a downgrade from Russell Wilson. But I think with some of the weapons that he does have around, like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Chris Carson, like all those other players that they do have, and Noah Fant coming over from Denver. I think they have good pieces, and I think it's just really going to depend on Lock's consistency to be able to win some games. I just don't see it against the Bucks. I think the Bucks are just too good all around. So then you go into the bye week in week 11, you're looking at a 10-0 record for the Bucks, which is I think is very very likely for that to happen for the Bucks to go 10-0. Then you go to week 12, you have the Cleveland Browns on the road. I think this game could really go either way, like the Ravens. I think at this point, Deshaun Watson will be playing for the Browns. I think he's going to be performing better at this point in the season. I think he'll get used to his receivers and the run game by now. The run game will always be good, but I think with Deshaun Watson's pass game might give Tampa a little bit of trouble because he does have some good weapons now on that Brown side of the ball with Amari Cooper, and they have all those other guys too on that side. I think the passing game will be better for the Browns this year and probably for this game too. But it's Tom Brady. No matter where he is, it's always very tough to beat Tom Brady. I'm going with the Bucks to beat the Browns on the road. And then you've got the Saints at the Bucks on Monday night. I'm picking the Saints to give the Bucks their first loss of the season. I think it's a very hard statement to say that the Bucks can sweep the Saints, which could be very well possible. But this Saints defense is very good. They've done a great job being able to contain Tom Brady over the years since he's played in Tampa. I think the Saints do win that game on the road on a Monday night. Then in week 14, the Tampa Bay Bucks travel to San Francisco to play the 49ers. I could really see this game going either way, to be quite honest with you. I could see a potential upset here, believe it or not, because I think Kyle Shanahan's defense is going to be able to slow down the Tom Brady's offensive scheme. I think they have the corners. I think they have all the pieces that's going to give Tampa Bay some problems. And I think they could get some pressure on Brady to play really well. And because it's not in Tampa, it's in San Francisco, that makes things even more difficult for Brady going back to, I guess in a way, it's kind of like a homecoming game for him because he's going back to his home state. This game could really go either way. I could see either one of these two teams winning this game. I think I might actually go with the upset. I think the 49ers, because I think it's going to really depend on the quarterback play, if it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance. I think what the 49ers do have, and assuming that Deebo Samuel is going to be playing for the Niners, which I do think he will, I think it's going to be a lot for this Bucks team to really be able to stop someone like a Deebo Samuel. They were able to do a good job last year against the run, but I think with Deebo Samuel, it's different because Deebo is all over the field. And I think with the 49ers, I don't think they're just going to keep him in the receiving core. I think they want to be able to use him as like a running gadget as well, which is going to start confusing defenses. And I think that's what really helps the 49ers be able to, win games like this. So I'm going to pick Kyle Shanahan and his defense. I think they can do just enough to be able to squeak by a win against the Bucks. Then you go to week 15. I think, like I said in the Bengals video, the Bengals at the Bucks, I can see this really being a very good game. I think this might be like the game of the year, in my opinion. I think both teams are very solid. Both teams have very similar offensive plays. They both have receiving cores. They both have, the best quarterbacks in the league. And they both have really good running backs too, respectively. So I could really see this game going either way, but I'm going to go with the Bucks, and only because I'm going with the Bucks, not just because they're home, but to be a young QB and be able to play in Tom Brady's home is very difficult. I don't think a lot of people realize how tough it really is to play someone who is twice your age almost, going there and trying to beat him while he is still playing in his prime, I guess you could say. So I think the Bucks do come off of those shaky losses to the Saints and the 49ers and be able to come back and play the Bengals and beat them in week 15. Week 16 is another game that could go either way. I think the Arizona Cardinals are a team that's going to kind of step back a little bit this year, but I think the Cardinals do have I think it's kind of a mismatch between the two teams of the Bucks and the Cardinals that's going to really confuse the Bucks in trying to be the best team in that game. I think with Kyler Murray, assuming that he is playing, which I think he will, and if DeAndre Hopkins, he should be back from his suspension already at this point in the season, and Marquise Brown, I think it's a lot of weapons like the Rams, but I think it's a lot to for the Bucks to be able to handle against a team like the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are just I think they're a good enough team that can get you some wins and get some upsets in. And I think Kyler Murray is someone that can really get you to win games like this and beat good teams. I think it's still very tough because you're kind of looking on the other side of the ball for the Cardinals defense. And while they have J.J. Watt and Buda Baker, I think they have a great defensive line for the Cardinals. And I think it's going to be really tough to be able to pass on them. I think it's a mixed match for them in terms of, well, here's Mike Evans, here's Chris Godwin, here's Russell Gage, we'll run the ball a little bit with Leonard Fournette, we'll get him into the passing game here and there. If Gronk comes back, that's another issue that's going to give the Cardinals issues to win this game. But honestly, this is kind of similar to the San Francisco game. I think the Cardinals can, and I think they will, very likely, in my opinion, I think they can pull off an upset against the Bucks. I'm not saying the Cardinals are a great team. I don't think they're a terrible team. I don't think they're a great team. I think they're going to take a step back this year. But I think the things that we have seen from the Cardinals in the past is that they can figure out to beat really good teams. And I think they can beat the Bucks at least once this year if they don't even beat in the playoffs. So I think I'm going to go with Arizona with the upset here. I think it's very possible for both them and the 49ers or one of these teams at least that do pull an upset off against Tom Brady. Then week 17, the Panthers travel to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay should win that game, no problem. Tampa Bay should win on the road in Atlanta. So then now you're looking at a 14-3 record. So some people may say that's a very high ceiling for the Bucks and maybe a little unrealistic. No, I think this is the highest. Honestly, the highest ceiling for this Bucks team, I think, is really maybe even 16-1, to be quite honest with you, because I think if there's one team in here that I really do think the Bucks may lose to, I think they'll lose to the Rams, but I think another team that really could beat them again is the Saints. Well, the Saints always give Tom Brady and the Bucks a hard time. So I think their ceiling is somewhere between 15-2 or 16-1. And the lowest I think they're going to be is 13-4, to be quite honest with you. I don't see this Bucks team losing that many games. They should be having another good year. That offense is still explosive. They still have Tom Brady, who's still playing the best football that he is. So yeah, I think this is a good record for them. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. And then when we return for our next NFC South video, we will be doing the New Orleans Saints. So I hope you all stick around for that.